Welcome to our e-learning video on the subject of Congressional Executive Agreements. In this video, we will explore what Congressional Executive Agreements are, how they differ from other forms of international agreements, and their significance in the U.S. government system. So let's dive in and learn more about this important topic. First, let's define what a Congressional Executive Agreement is. A Congressional Executive Agreement is a type of international agreement that is made between the executive branch of the U.S. government, represented by the President, and the legislative branch, represented by Congress. These agreements are used to establish and regulate the United States' relationships with foreign nations, and can cover a wide range of topics such as trade, defense, and foreign policy. One key difference between Congressional Executive Agreements and other forms of international agreements, such as treaties, is the way in which they are approved. According to the Constitution, treaties must be approved by a two-thirds majority of the Senate, whereas Congressional Executive Agreements do not require Senate approval. Instead, they are approved by a simple majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. This distinction between treaties and Congressional Executive Agreements has important implications for the U.S. government system. Treaties are considered to be binding on the United States and have the same legal status as federal law. As such, they can only be terminated or modified with the consent of the other party or through a formal withdrawal process. On the other hand, Congressional Executive Agreements are not considered to be as binding and can be terminated or modified by Congress at any time without the need for presidential or foreign government consent. Another significant aspect of Congressional Executive Agreements is their role in the balance of powers between the executive and legislative branches of government. The Constitution grants the President the power to negotiate and enter into international agreements on behalf of the United States. However, this power is not absolute and is subject to the checks and balances of the other branches of government. Congressional Executive Agreements provide Congress with a means to assert its authority and influence over foreign policy decisions. By requiring congressional approval for these agreements, Congress can shape and constrain the President's ability to make unilateral decisions on international matters. This serves as a system of checks and balances, ensuring that decisions regarding international relations are made collectively by the executive and legislative branches. In recent years, Congressional Executive Agreements have become increasingly common in U.S. foreign policy. This is largely due to the complexities and fast-paced nature of modern international relations, which often require quick and flexible responses. Congressional Executive Agreements provide a more efficient and expedited process for making international agreements, compared to the lengthy and cumbersome treaty approval process. However, the increased use of Congressional Executive Agreements has also raised concerns about the potential erosion of congressional authority in foreign policy decision-making. Some argue that the simplified approval process for these agreements can lead to executive overreach, bypassing the Senate's constitutional role in treaty making. Others argue that the lack of a formal withdrawal process for Congressional Executive Agreements can result in ambiguity and uncertainty in the termination or modification of these agreements. In conclusion, Congressional Executive Agreements are an important tool in U.S. foreign policy, allowing for efficient and flexible international agreements. They provide a means for Congress to assert its authority in foreign policy decision-making and serve as a system of checks and balances within the U.S. government system. However, their increased use has also raised concerns about potential executive overreach and erosion of congressional authority. It is important for individuals and policymakers to understand the nuances and implications of Congressional Executive Agreements in order to navigate this complex aspect of U.S. foreign policy. Thank you for joining us in this e-learning video on Congressional Executive Agreements. We hope this information has provided you with a better understanding of this important topic. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more informative content such as this.